Next, let's go ahead and clean this carrier. And as you can see, this thing is a little bit dirty. This is after about 400 rounds of suppressed fire. And it is just very dirty. It's very abrasive. It feels like very fine sandpaper is all over it, and it is time to be cleaned. What I like to do is start with my 12 gauge cleaning patches. And if you have a bit more area that you're trying to cover, I'll do 2 dabs on there, just like that. And then as we will go along is just rub it on the carrier like this. And all we're doing is just rubbing that like that, trying to get all that carbon off of there. Let's go ahead with our second patch. And then as we get to where the lips of the magazines feed into, I like to take my patch, I kind of like to fold it on itself, and then stick it in the groove, and just run it back and forth. And that does a really good job at cleaning that tight area where the magazine feed lips ride. And as you can see, we're just moving around, taking our time, wiping this thing down. And if there's an area like this where you can see there's buildup and it's very thick and you want to get in there, take your cloth, use your nail, and just kind of really try to get in there. You're not going to get all of it, but if you can tell that there's a little bit extra in one place, just really, put some elbow grease into there and just try to do the best you can and rub it out. Alright, now we've gotten to this point where we've rubbed everything off, and obviously you can see there's just a lot of stuff, floating around in there, and that'll happen as, you're cleaning it because there's still a lot of debris on there. But next step is just let's get into those finer places, and let's get this thing really cleaned down. So what I like to do is, let's take a clean patch. So for my cam pin, I like to go under it here, and then hold this thing down. Just kind of rotate this thing back and forth like that, and switch it up when it gets dirty. That allows you to really get under there. And same thing the other way on the top of the carrier. Just rub it back and forth just like that. And again, you're not going to get everything off on this titanium nitride or whatever this finish is. As you can see, you're not going to get everything off. There's going to be carbon built up in certain areas, and you could spend hours on this and you would never get it clean. But this is good enough for me. And then in these areas over here, this doesn't really affect anything, but if you want, you can go on there and just kind of wipe that down like that. Maybe you don't have to do that every single time, but once in a while it's good to just get that cleaned out. And then the same with the back here. You can just put that in there and kind of just push it through and get all the bigger stuff out. Okay, next, now that we've gotten to this point and we've kind of touched all our bases here, let's start to get into where I start to use Q-tips. So first place I like to start where that retainer pin goes, just take a Q-tip and get in there. Just kind of clean that out. Just like so. And then going back here, before we move into the Q-tip stuff, I do like to get in here with a patch. We'll finish it off with a Q-tip, but I do like to just get in here and do the best I can and just kind of rub that extra carbon off, because there is quite a bit of buildup. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so this is one of those areas where you can spend a lot of time on, is the 3-bore. And what I like to do is just take a Q-tip, wet it, and just go in, kind of loosen everything up there, get everything lubed up. And then since it's so dirty, I'm going to wet the other side here. Same thing, just kind of go over the walls, get everything lubed up in there. So that when we come in with another one, really clean that out. There also is an area here where the cam pin goes, and you can take a Q-tip and get in there and kind of rub the sides like that. That is a very efficient way to clean that because it is a tight spot. And then, yet again, nothing has to be perfect here, but we're looking much better in this 3-bore. And just kind of go over it as many times as you want. But for these purposes, I don't need it perfect, so we'll probably call it good here after this one. But yeah, you can spend hours cleaning this with Q-tips like that. But that doesn't look too bad. Okay, next let's move on to the back here. Again, wet Q-tip. And then I kind of like just to work on one side here. Do the best you can. And then once one side is clean, or once you hit one side, go to the other side. Switch it up. Kind of just get. And then I do like to hit the bolt tail from this side, just because you can kind of get in there a little bit better. And switch it around. Get in there just like that, and just keep working it. Just keep working it until you feel satisfied. Some people are going to have this thing spotless, some people are going to have it look like this, and either way it doesn't matter. As long as you get a clean and nice layer of lubrication on there or cleaner on there to preserve the surfaces, that works just fine. And then to finish up, we'll just take one more patch just to, clean up a little bit here and wipe it down. Just get all those, get all that dirt off there and kind of give it one more layer of lube. Just make it all look nice and clean. At least as clean as possible. And then one thing I forgot to mention here, you can take a wet Q-tip and get under the gas key here, just like so. Just kind of clean that area. This doesn't really matter for anything, but just to get all that extra debris out of there, that is a very efficient way to do that. But again, that doesn't really affect anything. That is me just cleaning things and maintaining things to the best of my ability here. And then last step on the gas key, this thing actually is wide enough to use a Q-tip. to get in there. It is a little bit tight, but go like that. Kind of just rotate that in there. And the dry side. Now, that is completely optional. I do like to clean these for when I'm gauging them, but usually that's not something you really have to do every single time. But if it gets to be where it's really dirty in there or you think it needs to be cleaned or whatever, go ahead and clean it. It's not going to hurt anything. And yes, so that is the full cleaning of the carrier. And as you can see, it does take a few patches here and a few Q-tips, but you can get it done.